Hello, and welcome to Module 1.4 of the Oregon Third-Party Verification Training. My name is Bill Peters, and I'm the Interim Clean Fuels Program Manager. This module provides an overview of the Clean Fuels Program. For any questions related to this training program, please contact us at 3pverify@dq.oregon.gov. Just a quick note on where we are in the program. Program started in 2016, and we're currently at an 8% reduction requirement in 2024, which is the year that I'm recording these slides. In our 2022 rulemaking, we set reduction requirements out through 2035, when a 37% reduction will be required. The Clean Fuels program was patterned off of the California Low Carbon Fuel Standard, but the two programs are not identical. Our quarterly fuel transactions reporting includes transactions for the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program, which means that generally more activity and more transactions are reported for a reporting entity in Oregon than would be the case in California. The fuel markets operate differently in the Northwest than they do in California, with fuel trucked across the borders making up a greater share of imports and exports than they do in down south. And Oregon does not have any petroleum refineries or crude oil production in state. Many of the pathways that we have are recertifications of California pathways. We also do not yet require validation prior to a pathway's submittal, but annual fuel pathway reports must be verified for facilities that are responsible for more than 6,000 credits and/or deficits from their fuel pathways each year. We are currently in a rulemaking that may require validation of fuel pathways in the coming years if they're not recertifications of California pathways. The Clean Fuels program also has a number of exemptions, more than what is the case in California, and those are reported separately by exempt fuel category and are subject to verification by you, the verifiers. Generally, more biodiesel is used in Oregon due to a state B5 mandates, and we don't have any requirements for NOx mitigation from that fuel. We also have substitute fuel pathway codes for B5 and E10, along with imported finished fuel pathway codes for those in order to accommodate the truck traffic in those fuels that we see in state. We have the same deadlines as California for verification, and agency staff are in regular communication across the Pacific Coast jurisdictions that have low carbon fuel standards in the US and Canada. ORGREET is slightly different than California GREET, including slightly different diesel and gasoline fuel specifications, the addition of the Oregon grid mix, and some other differences like crude oil carbon intensities. Our mandatory regulated parties are coded as importers, importers of gasoline, diesel, ethanol, biodiesel, or renewable diesel, and any blend or constituent of those fuels are required to register and report to us if they're over a certain threshold. The voluntary registered parties or credit generators are as follows. For compressed natural gas, liquefied natural gas, and propane or LPG, it's the owner of the dispenser that can register with us and generate credits. For out-of-state low-carbon liquid fuel producers, we'll have to register and generate credits on the fuels that they produce, so long as those fuels then get imported into Oregon. For renewable natural gas, renewable propane, or renewable jet fuel, or sustainable aviation fuel, it's the producer or importer of those fuels that is able to register and report the fuels that do get imported and then used in Oregon. For electricity, the credit generator will depend on the type of equipment that is being operated. For public transit, that is generally going to be the transit agency, and that includes fixed light rail, streetcars, aerial trams, and electric transit buses. For forklifts, it's the fleet owner or operator. For residential electric vehicle charging, it's the electric utility. And for non-residential electric vehicle charging, it is the charger owner. And then for hydrogen, it's the owner of the hydrogen fuel as it's being dispensed into a qualifying vehicle. Quarterly reports in the program are due basically when they're due for California, and we allow 45 days for companies to upload their initial data and then the remaining 45 for them to reconcile with their counterparties. The only difference, and you'll hear more about this in course 10, is we have a slightly different deadline for the Q3 reports in order to get it away from the New Year's holiday. Annual reports are the compliance demonstrations, and those are due on April 30th of each year. And then annual field pathway reports are due on March 31st of each year. All of DEQ's regulations are codified in Oregon Administrative Rules, Chapter 340. The regulatory text for the Clean Fuels Program lives in Division 253, and you can access that at the link on the slide. We also have a number of explanatory materials about the program that we posted on our website, including some that explain reporting and other requirements. You can find those at the following links on this page. As a guide to Division 253, Rules 100 to 350 cover regulated fuels, regulated parties, and exemptions. Rules 400 to 470 cover the carbon intensity determinations and fuel pathway application process. Rule 500 covers registration. Rules 600 to 670 cover the record keeping, documentation, and reporting requirements in the program. Rule 700 covers third-party verification, and it briefly describes what must be verified, and then points to Division 272, which covers all of the third-party verification requirements. Rules 1000, 1100 cover credit and deficit calculations, credit trading, and advanced crediting. Rule 2000 and 2100 cover the deferrals that our program has. And then Rule 8010 includes a number of data tables, including the carbon intensity standards, lookup tables, substitute fuel pathway codes, temporary fuel pathway codes, and more. In terms of what gets verified in the Clean Fuels Program, it's fuel pathway applications and annual fuel pathway reports that are required to be verified right now. Validation is optional for applications, but all annual fuel pathway reports must be verified where the fuel producer has pathways which have generated more than 6,000 credits and or deficits. For recertification fuel pathways from California, the California verification statement must be provided to DEQ by the fuel producer within 10 days of being submitted to the Air Resources Board. If the verification statement from that California verification of the pathway is adverse, then they must also get and submit the log of issues to DEQ. Quarterly fuel transaction reports are also within the scope of verification and also subject to a 6,000 credit and or deficit threshold in order to determine if verification must be performed on those quarterly fuel transaction reports. And finally, the CFP could potentially require project reports to be verified in the future, but we do not have the same refinery investment or crude oil investment provisions that the California program has, so project reports likely only come from a biofuel facility that has a carbon capture and sequestration project associated with it. To reiterate, the companies that must be verified are the fuel pathway holders, where a fuel production facility generates more than 6,000 credits and deficits in Oregon in a year, and fuel reporting entities whose quarterly fuel transaction reports generate more than 6,000 credits and deficits in a year. And with that, that concludes Module 1.4. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions about this course, please email us at 3pverify@deq.oregon.gov.